Okay. Again, my name, for people I don't know here, I'm Jeff Olson. I am from Dallas, Texas, and in a little while here you'll hear my whole story. But actually what I'm going to do tonight is what I enjoy doing more than anything else, and that is training how to build an organization. There's a lot of different types of trainings that are important to your building your business, and I'll talk about those trainings tonight, but this one is more directed in how to build an organization, not just in Dallas, but all over North America, okay? And everything I'm going to share with you tonight is really based upon lifetime experiences. And the next, I'm going to go straight, okay? So if you have to go to the bathroom, you're going to have to just kind of ease out, okay, and ease back in. But I'm going to talk for 4 straight hours. And so, because that's the only way I can get it all in, and still I'll be halfway through with what I really want to say. But in the next few hours, I'm going to give you a lifetime of experiences, okay? It's not going to be based on stuff I've read. It's not going to be based upon things I think about. Everything I'm going to talk about tonight is based upon what I have done. What I have done literally hundreds, if not thousands of times. And everything I'm going to talk about tonight has proven itself and it has worked many times. What I mean by that is I've been involved in different companies in this industry with different types of products. I have worked not only in the United States, but in other continents and other countries. And everything I'm going to share with you tonight has worked every single time. Matter of fact, I was recently introduced at a symposium that was made up of the biggest direct sales companies in this industry. And the head of that industry said, for all he knows, I'm the only person they know that's done 4 different companies, and each one of them has gone to the very top. 3 of them did over $1 billion in sales total of organizations that I built. Okay, so well, I guess I'm saying all this to say that it's worked for me every single time. It's worked with different products. It's worked with different languages and different continents. And it's the same exact thing I've done every single time. And if one thing you're going to come away with tonight's presentation from me is I'm probably the most boring person you've ever seen in this industry. If there's one thing I do is I master the mundane. I do very simple little things and I master them, okay? And I think one of the biggest problems in this industry is we have a tendency to try and come up with little angles on it, little ways we can improve the business. And I can just tell you, from my perspective, is the key in this business is to take very simple concepts and master them. So, like I said, I'm going to give you my lifetime experiences in this industry. And you know, the other thing I kind of pride myself on is I study this industry, the industry of direct sales, network marketing, target marketing. I've been involved in it now for about 20 years. I've always been a student of it. I think I've attended about every company out there's meetings at one time. I look at everybody's training manuals. I look at everybody's presentations and try and see what works and what doesn't work, okay? And there's kind of a theme that works through all the great organizations out there, and there's kind of a theme that works through all the great companies out there, and I'm going to kind of try and share those things with you. So before I get started going into my training tonight, I want to kind of just back up and just for the people here who don't know me, and for the people who here do know me, just kind of make sure you got the story right, okay? Because I already heard today that I got killed in a car wreck today, okay? Believe it or not, okay? So things can get weird out there. Mark Brown got, I think, 4 calls today hearing that I got killed in a car wreck, so hope that's not a premonition. But with that said, real quickly, my story is I was born and raised in Albuquerque, New Mexico, okay? And basically was never a great student. I was nothing better than a C. I never really made above C's in my life. And I begged my way into University of New Mexico in Albuquerque. And so basically tonight you need to know you're being trained by somebody who's pretty stupid, okay? I was never really that successful in school. And I went to college, and I took my C's to a D. Okay, I took it a D average, and I learned one thing in my freshman year in college. I learned one thing. At spring break, everybody left and went to Daytona Beach for a week. Okay, I said, well, if they do that for a week, I'll do it for a year. So I quit school and went to Daytona Beach for a year. Okay, and I became a beach bum. And my nickname at Daytona Beach was Gorgeous George. Okay, so that's who I was. And I had, like we all do at some point in our life, I had that day day of decision, that day of disgust in my life. And we all have that day at different times in our life when we make a decision, we're going to change our lives. And I had that day, okay, and I said, I'm better than this, I can do better than this. And I decided to go back to school. I loaded up my 1964 Dodge Dart Slant 6, put everything I had in it because it fit in the back seat, everything I had, okay, and drove back to Albuquerque, New Mexico and begged my way back into school. And got back into school, went straight A's the first semester. I never made A's in my life. Went on to get into business school, graduated at the very top of my class. So I guess what I'm saying is you can never been successful at anything, and all of a sudden you can make a decision, and things can change. And so with that, I graduated at the top of my class, and this whole story I'm going to draw on the whole night. So I'm not doing this just to pat myself on the back. When I go into my training, I'm going to draw on all this to show you how you got to think, because I'm going to really spend a lot of time, more than anything else tonight, talking about how to think more than how to do, okay? How to do comes very easy if you think right. And so I got recruited by Texas Instruments, here a local company. Went to work with Texas Instruments and went to the very top of Texas Instruments very quickly and with that company. And I'll never forget that company because that's where I got introduced to sales. I got hired by them. They put me into sales, and I said, hey, in Orlando, Florida. And I said, I don't want to be in sales. You understand, I'm a management kind of guy. You know, I made good grades. I should be in management. They go, well, if you want to be in management, you got to do sales for 2 years. And then if you're good at that, we'll put you in management. Okay, well, that turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. I got into sales, ended up becoming a district manager, an area manager, a regional manager, in charge of the Intelligence Systems Division, and great things happened. But corporate America didn't work well for me like it doesn't work for a lot of people. I didn't like it. There was a lot of politics. There was just a lot of things going on there. And I left corporate America, went back to Albuquerque, New Mexico again, and started a company called Sun Air of America. It was a solar manufacturing company. I knew nothing about solar. I didn't know if the sun came up in the east or the west. I didn't know anything about it. Started this little solar company in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and there was 400 solar companies incorporated in New Mexico. It was the solar capital of the United States at the time, and started that company, and in 2 years had kind of punctured into like the top 20 solar companies in the country, and eventually became the 5th largest solar company. We're a manufacturing, marketing, distribution solar company, and what happened is that was really, I learned a lot of things about target marketing. I'll talk about that later on. But what happened eventually, I don't remember, you remember the tax law changes back in 1986? And it destroyed the oil industry here, right? It destroyed the housing industry. It destroyed, a whole lot of industries. It took that industry down and went from having, really made it to losing everything. I don't know if anybody who's ever lost everything, but you ever notice you don't go to zero, you go below zero? I went below zero. I had nothing. I owed way more than I ever thought I could make again. And matter of fact, I had my car towed away. I don't know if you ever had that ugly feeling where you're at night, you hear the noise, you look out the curtains, and there they are taking your car away, okay? And so I remember sitting there that night thinking this. I was thinking, this is not really that fair. I woke up one day and went back and busted it and did my very best and graduated at the very top of my college. I went to work for Texas Instruments for 5 years and went to the very top. I built this company in 4.5 years. I did everything I was supposed to do. And here I am 12 years later, and I'm broker than when I was Gorgeous George, okay? And that hurt, 12 years of blood and guts of everything I could do, and I was broker than I was a beach bum in Daytona Beach, okay? But there's a lot of things I learned from that. And from there, what great thing happened to me, I was building another company called Data Direct, and it was just starting to have success. Matter of fact, over in New Mexico, we just won the United Way Advertising Campaign of the Year Award, and we're building a target marketing consulting company, okay? And what happened to me was the greatest gift that ever happened to me. I was coming through the Houston airport from Orlando, where I'd just taken my daughter to see Mickey Mouse, was going through the Houston airport and ran into a flight attendant who knew my wife when she was a flight attendant, okay? Walked up and said, and had this tape. Says, Jeff, you gotta watch this tape. You would really be good at this. So I took the tape, and I made a bad decision. I judged the tape based upon how I judged her. I didn't really think that highly of her from a business standpoint. Took the tape home, and for the next 4 months, she called me regularly, okay? Sherilyn would call me all the time. Matter of fact, every Tuesday night, she always called, because a Tuesday night, she'd go to a meeting with that company in Houston, get all jacked up, come home and call me. I knew the call was coming, okay? And so I ignored the call. This went on for 4 months. I'm guessing she called me over 40 times, okay, and really didn't take the calls. And it was between Christmas and New Year's, and I'm sitting there one day in my living room, really had nothing else to do, and I decided I'm going to watch this tape. So I took the tape off the TV, put it in, hit play, and it started playing. Here's how I was watching it, reading the newspaper. Wasn't even paying attention. That's how interested I was. The tape was playing. All of a sudden, I started hearing some success stories from people, okay? I remember I put the paper down, put it reverse, hit play again, and it came along. This is exactly what I said to myself. I watched those people say all the things that happened in their lives, all the changes they had, the money they're making, and I said to myself, if those stupid people can make that kind of money, I'm going to figure this thing out. Have you ever thought that yourself? Have you ever sat there and watched those stupid, I'm not saying anything about you, Mark, okay? But those stupid people, if I was looking at these people, and I go, none of these people went to, graduated top of their business class. None of these people were in Texas Instruments. None of these people built, I was going, how'd this happen? And so, I got excited about it, but I knew immediately I was in a different game. I knew immediately that this is something that was different than anything else I'd ever experienced. And so I got involved with that company. I was in Albuquerque. My sponsor was in Houston. She didn't know nothing, okay? Now, just for your information, basically I was her first and last recruit. She is retired, okay? She's made hundreds of thousands of dollars for every one of those 40 phone calls, okay? So was it not worth it for her to do that? Okay, she just sits in a nice house in Houston and lives a great life because she was persistent that one time. You just never know when that's going to happen, okay? And so I remember seeing that. I made a decision, I got to figure this thing out. Got into the business. There was no upline support. I was sitting in Albuquerque. There was no meeting going on. There was really no trainings going on. And I got this company at that time was a company about the size of Prepaid Legal, okay? So it was a mature company. It was a company that had been around about 25 years, so it wasn't a startup company. It was very similar, okay? I came in from the outside, never been in network marketing, because people think you have to have been in the industry. Remember, every person who's a millionaire in this industry at one time started somewhere in this industry, okay? That was me. I got started in the industry. I didn't know how to do the business. I had never been trained. I'd never seen a meeting. I'd never been to a training. There was no meetings in Albuquerque. There was no trainings in Albuquerque to go to, okay? In my first year, I never recruited one network marketer, not one, okay? It was a real estate agent. It was a contractor. It was a person that owned a security alarm company. It was people that never, just regular people like you and me, okay, in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Well, in a year and a half, I was in the top 10 of that company, okay, of that company. It'd be like somebody starting here and doing that same thing. Almost all my training tonight is going to be based upon what I learned in that first year and a half. Because what I learned there has worked every single time. I left that company just for certain reasons, and I left that company, but I'd learned a lot after being with them for about 3 years, okay, and I was at the very top of the company. I left them and went to another company you may have heard of called Quorum. Where Quorum was an electronics company that was just getting going. They'd been around about 2 years in this industry. They had kind of built themselves to about a $30 million company. I went over to that company. I became the CEO, the chief executive officer of that company. In about 2 years, we took them to $250 million in sales, okay? The exact same thing I did in the first company is the exact same thing I did in the second company. In both those companies, I opened up all of Europe for them, okay? And it worked every single time. And from then, I left that company for some reasons, because I didn't agree with some things that were going on. I started a company called TPN, the People's Network. That company had great success, and that company eventually merged in to Prepaid Legal 6 years ago. Mark was asking how long ago it's been, but that was 6 years ago when we merged our two companies. And I'll never forget that because Harlan Stonecipher approached, one day I'm just sitting in my office and my assistant walks in and says, there's somebody on the phone who wants to talk to you. And I go, who is it? And she goes, Harlan Stonecipher. And I go, oh, that's neat. I didn't know Harlan. He didn't know me. We'd heard of each other. And he wants to talk to you. So I said, okay. I took the phone call and get on the phone with him. And Harlan says, hey, I'd like to come down and spend the afternoon with you and buy you some lunch. And I said, free lunch? Come on down, okay? And so, he came down, and we spent the afternoon together. And I'll just never forget, we kind of both liked each other philosophically. And I was trying to figure out how to get the product from Prepaid, and he was trying to figure out how to get some things from my sales, the sales side, because we were doing sales real good. And we eventually made a decision, hey, we'd be better off together, okay? And anytime you bring two entities together, what you're looking for is a thing called synergy, where 1 + 1 equals more than 2, and that's what happened here. It's really been the most successful merger ever in the history of this industry. All that leads up to is, all those experiences leads up to what I'm going to talk about tonight, okay? And again, I just really want to emphasize, what I'm going to share with you tonight is not theory. Okay, I've read a lot of the network marketing books, and haven't read one yet that I think the person who wrote the book knew what they're talking about. I really haven't, okay? Because there's just something based upon thousands of meetings and thousands of trainings and thousands of conference calls and three-way calls and seeing people you thought were going to go to the top fall apart, and seeing people you thought would never make it go to the very top. And doing that over and over and over. There's a gut thing you just learn about this business, okay? And so that's what I'm going to be sharing with you, those things that I have worked over and over. I'm not going to get into detail tonight about how to sell the product. We have great training on how to do that. Now I'm going to get in detail on the different avenues of how we market the product, group and small business, and all the great ways we have marketing the product. I'm going to talk more from 100 miles up looking down on how to build an organization. But more important than anything else, I'm going to work a lot on how to think, okay? And that you're going to find that is everything in this business. And I'll talk about it in a little while. So here's the goals for tonight. They're pretty simple goals, okay? This is you right here. Every person in this room, that's you, okay? And this is just a model, okay? I'm not saying this is how you build prepaid legal. I'm just giving you a model. Your goal is going to be to learn how to do this business, okay? And eventually get 5 other people to learn how to do this business, okay? And then work with them to help them get their 5 to learn how, this is duplication, to do this business, okay? And then do the same thing down to 125, same thing down to 625, same thing, it moves to 3,125, and it just keeps on growing geometrically. Now, don't we wish it worked that simply, right? The main reason it doesn't work that simply is because we have one of the most difficult products you'll ever work with in life. It's called people. We are weird units, okay? I mean, there's one God, hundreds of religions, and we're killing each other over it. We can't get that right. We're going to mess this up, too. So just understand, weird people, okay? So don't get frustrated by it. Accept it for what it is, okay? But the whole goal tonight is to work with how you can become what I call a core person, and then go through the numbers, because there's going to be numbers that have people come along to find another 5 people that you've brought in that are core and help them do the same thing. Why I drew a line here between 25 and 125 is because this is going to take 80% plus of your time. 20% of it will come down. Well, this growth will happen later. Most people never get past this line because they violate the rules of how to build an organization, okay? The things that allow you to build up here, if you don't do them right, will allow you to build down here. What I mean by that, when you start somebody in this business, the way you start them has to work exactly the way you want to work 4 or 5 levels below you. And one of the biggest mistakes people make in this industry is they start you, I'm working with you, Dave, because I have a personal relationship with you, and I start in motion something that won't work 5 to 10 levels below me because I do more with you than I should, quite honestly, okay? And what I don't teach you is something that's so duplicatable, it'll work in depth, okay? I've seen it over and over. Somebody comes in, and they're a stud, they're an insurance man at the local country club. You know, they know everybody. And they come in, and they can immediately get their 5. And because and they all know each other, and they play golf in their tournaments every week, they can get their 5, and all of a sudden they got 30 people, and you're going, oh my God, I've made it. But all of a sudden it goes nowhere else. Because what's happened has been driven personality, and you let them do things that all of a sudden wouldn't work outside of their personality when it left the country club, moved across town to somebody they didn't know who was at a soccer league, who called somebody in Chicago they didn't know. What you allowed to get set in motion couldn't move away from you, okay? And that's why the vast majority of people never break through this, because they don't set in motion what will duplicate, okay? And so another thing you're going to have to do, you're going to have to spend a lot of time up here before down here works, okay? So the whole talk tonight really is, number one, based upon how you become a core person, set in motion something that attracts 5 other people who become core. And I'm going to talk about what core is when I go through what we call the 10 core commitments, okay? And you do it in a way that it duplicates and starts moving away from you, okay? Moving away from you. And trust me, if your business is not growing and moving away from you, it's only one person's fault, you, okay? And the number one question you got to always ask yourself is, would I want to be sponsored by me? Would I want to be sponsored by me? And at the end of the night, you can say, yeah, I'd want to be sponsored by me. Then you've kind of broken the code in this business, okay? So here's the goal we have for you in my training tonight. The first goal I'm going to work on a lot is how to think like a leader in this business. Because it's totally different in this business than when it was in corporate America, small business America, when I was out there. It's a total different mindset, okay? And you've got to learn how to think like a leader in this business and keep that other stuff out, okay? The second thing we're going to talk about is how to build your business in a way that you get persistency and consistency. What I mean by that, if you don't do something, the biggest gift you ever give your organization is what you are doing is persistent and consistent, okay? It's not changing and moving all the time, because you got to allow it to start moving away from you. Every time you change something, it just comes right back up closer to you, okay? And so if you're the idea of the month person, guess what you're doing? You just keep on just bringing it back to you and bringing it back to you and never letting it move away from you, okay? So we're going to talk about persistence and consistency. We're going to talk a lot about what I call the laws of duplication. I've come up with what I call the laws. And these are laws, these are filters when I get to these, that I do not let anything into my business unless I go through these filters, okay? The laws of duplication. The fourth thing is you're going to have to protect your organization. Because I'm going to tell you what, as you build this organization, you're going to get a lot of distractions from outside your organization, but more importantly from inside your organization that's going to get you off doing your persistent, consistent things and get you doing the idea of the month and never letting your group move away from you. And I'll talk about that later on, okay? And the last thing what I'm going to talk about is how you continually go through what I call the growth learning cycle and how you transfer that to your organization. Because what you have to do is you start growing. You start bringing people in, they got to go through their growth, okay? The new group's got to go through their growth. I guarantee you, every person who's a platinum in this company, who they were the day they signed up and who they are the day they became a platinum is totally different. They had to go through a growth process, okay? And the way they did that is, number one, they did it themselves, like I'm saying up here, but number two, they were able to get other people around them to start going through the growth process, okay? So we're going to talk about how you go through the growth process. So the only thing you really need to know on the how-to, in my opinion, I hope you all know what this book is, a Getting Started Right book. Oh, yeah. This is it. You don't need to know anymore to build a large organization. You don't need to come up with little angles on it. You don't need to come up with, I'm going to do it the super-duper way. I'm going to put the vanilla ice cream in it, whatever, okay? This is all you need to know, okay, is how to do this Getting Started Right book. The 10 core commitments in here, and in combination with our success guide that you get with your associate kit, which is real detailed. It's just kind of like the data backs up the little thing in here. But the Getting Started Right book is all you need to know. So, think about it. It's very interesting because I promise you, every person in here can go platinum knowing nothing more than this book, okay? But why is it people don't do that? Why is it, you get two people of kind of equal skills and equal ability. They got the same company, the same product, the same marketplace, and one person comes in and goes to the very top, another person comes in and quits 9 days later and is spitting back at the company. You know what I mean? It's all the company's fault, and it's your fault, and it's, everybody's fault but mine. And I'll talk about that later on in the training. Why is that? That's what we're talking about a lot. Because quite honestly, I think you're going to see is most people make this complicated. Okay, make it real complicated. We're going to find out about me. I'm so boring, it's ridiculous. Okay, I take this thing and just follow it like the Bible. Okay, this concept right here. The thing, as we go through this, what you're going to find out, as you have people come and go, and they come and go. Believe me, to build this organization of core people, hundreds are going to come and go. Okay, just like they do in everything in life. Okay, that's not this company, it's not this industry. That's just how it works. Okay, they're going to come and go. But as people, and as we talk about the 10 core commitments tonight, you'll sit down with somebody and we'll train them on the 10 core commitments, and then they'll start down this road. Everyone starts down this road. And eventually, every person eventually falls off the road, okay? Every person does in some area. And where you kind of find out who you are as a leader is your ability to get them back on the path. I've always said the definition of leader is my ability to get you to do something you wouldn't have done if I hadn't been there. Okay, a leader's not a cheerleader. A leader is a good thing to be a cheerleader, don't get me wrong, but a leader is the ability to get somebody to do something they wouldn't have done if you hadn't been there. So when somebody falls off this path that we're going to be talking about tonight, there's basically, the number one thing when I sit down with somebody, the number one thing I'd ask them is why. Why did you quit coming to the meeting? Why did you quit coming to the trainings? Why did you quit doing the exposure process? Why, whatever we committed to with each other, why did you quit? And what you'll find out, number one, is usually they've lost their belief in the business, okay? So tonight we're going to spend some time on the vision of the company because you got to have a big vision. If you don't have the vision of this company's going to go, anything can knock you off. We'll have negative articles. People, if a negative article from the media takes you down, you don't get it. Microsoft has more negative articles and more lawsuits against it than any company out there. If you're not moving, you're not getting attacked. A dog does not bark at a parked car. It's that simple, okay? But you got to have the belief in where the company's going, okay? You just have to have the belief, because every company goes through the things it has to go through to get to the top. There's no straight line like this. It looks like this for everybody goes to the top. Your growth path can look like that. Prepaid legal's growth path looks like that. Every entity there is, whether it's the military, whether it's a church, whether it's a school system, whether it's a business, whether it's a franchise, their growth looked like this, okay? A lot of ups and downs, always learning from the downs so they can get better with the ups, okay? It's a simple process. But they either lost their belief in the business or they lost their belief in themselves, okay? Or they lost their belief in you. Okay, and usually when they lost their belief in themselves, it's because you haven't got them doing what I think is one of the most important things I'll talk about later on. You haven't got them on a path of personal development, okay? When they lose their belief in you, what's happened is you are changing so much, they just don't, they can see that you don't know where you're going, so they just they can't believe you the next time you come up with your idea of the month, okay? The number one gift you'll ever give your organization is just so persistent, so consistent. They see you doing the same thing over and over and over, never flinching, that they eventually say, that's the way to go. They fall in line, and all of a sudden you start getting the persistency and consistency in your organization, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is just really a little bit about you, okay? Because the number one thing that I believe you have to build anything, not forget your prepaid legal business, to build anything, to build any organization, to build your family, to build your health, to build anything in your life, the number one thing you have to have is proper philosophies. What I think is wrong is what most people do in their life, whether it's about their family, their finances, their health, prepaid legal business. You know what they're all looking for? Tell me how to do it. Give me the actions. You know, everybody comes to trainings like this going, if you'll just tell me how to do it, I'll do it. That's not true, okay? I can tell you, I can have my training can be done in 20 minutes tonight, easily, because I can tell you exactly how to do it. But if I don't change the way you're thinking, before you get to your car, you'll have rearranged it, okay? By the time you got home, you completely have reinvented it. And by tomorrow, you wouldn't even recognize it, okay? And you wouldn't even know that happened, okay? And so I'm just saying, we got to, what I'm saying more than anything else is, if it's how to do it, I'd just say, here it is. I'd go over it very briefly, and I'd leave. But that's not what makes it work. You know, again, why is it two people come in of equal abilities, take the exact same company, the exact same product, the exact same marketplace, they basically look the same, one goes to the very top and the other one fails. Why is that? It's usually because the difference between them is one had good philosophies and one had bad philosophies. What philosophies are is what you know, okay, what you know, how you hold it, and how it affects what you do, okay? So if you have positive philosophies, what that does, that turns into a positive attitude. Positive attitude will turn into positive actions. Now we're into how to do it, okay? And then those positive actions turn into positive results. Those results turn into a positive lifestyle. But if you have negative philosophies on how to do this business, and negative philosophies about your life, just negative philosophies, if you're basically negative, okay, that turns into a negative attitude, which now comes into the same exact actions, which turns into negative actions, which turns into negative results, which then turns into a negative lifestyle. So what I'm saying is when things aren't working for you, you've got to back up farther than the actions. And the problem is everybody's wanting to say, tell me how to do it. Show me exactly how to do it. I will do it. That's not the case. I mean, it's very simple how to do this. You have to back up and you have to look at your philosophies and how those philosophies are affecting your attitude and how that attitude is now affecting your actions. And that's why, in my opinion, one of the most important gifts you'll ever give yourself and you'll ever give your organization is the gift of personal development. We're in the legal business, but guess the number one business you're really in? The people business, okay? And, you know, talking about philosophies versus actions, here's one of the greatest philosophers of all time. His name was Benjamin Franklin, one of the greatest philosophers of American history. Benjamin Franklin said, if I had 4 hours to chop down a tree, okay, that's an action, okay? He said, I'd spend 3 hours sharpening my axe, 1 hour chopping a tree. What did he say? I spent 3 hours working on me, 1 hour chopping the tree, okay? What does most people do? They come in with a dull axe, It didn't work in the company you worked for that you're frustrated with, you couldn't climb the ladder. It's not working over here, it's not working there. You come with the same double axe, you start smacking the opportunity of prepaid legal, and the tree doesn't go over, and now it's the tree's fault, okay? I'm telling you, you got to work on you. It's the greatest gift you ever give yourself is the gift of personal development. And when you're going to build an organization, you want that, as you become a core person, then that moves. I'm going to talk later on how easy it is to move personal development into the organization, okay? But it's one of the greatest gifts. And you know, one of the best stories I've ever heard, and it's a true story. It was in Success magazine some time ago. It was about a guy in this industry, okay? And he was in a company, he had been in it for about 3 years. And he knew the company. He had been to all the trainings. He knew the manuals, okay? He knew the presentation. He did the meetings. He did the trainings. He knew the how, he knew the how, he knew the how. Everybody liked him. He was a nice guy, okay? He was about ready to go bankrupt because he'd done so good in that company, okay? His wife was basically not enjoying what he was doing. He said, and here's his story. He says, one day I was doing the meeting, just like perfectly. I was doing exactly how I was supposed to do it, the how. After the meeting, the person walks up to me and says, you know what? You're lucky. I'm new. I see it. I'm excited. I'm going to be in your organization, and you're going to make a lot of money off me. Well, he'd heard this before. He goes, that's great. You know, way to go. And we'll train you and everything, okay? And he even trained the guy. The guy came to his training. He trained him. But here's what happened. That person all of a sudden took off, exploded. And all of a sudden, this individual who had never really had success but knew how to do everything had one person who just took off, just kind of like what happened to Sherilyn and the other company when I got involved, okay? And that's a good story because all of a sudden he was making a lot of money, 6 figures off this one person. Okay, isn't that a neat story? But that's not what we learned from the story. He says, after that happened, all of a sudden, every meeting I did worked. All the trainings I did worked. Every person I tried to sponsor got excited. And he says, the thing that changed in me was my attitude. And I didn't even know it. My light was off and I thought it was on. Okay? What you'll find out, every person, you see it. And when you walk in a room, you brighten a room or you dim a room. You know what I mean? A lot of people, when they walk in a room, they're like that Charlie Brown creature. Remember the smoke falling off of him, that dirty character? Okay? I'm just telling you, is the how, he had the hows down. What changed in his life? He got excited, and he didn't even know he wasn't excited. His attitude changed, and all of a sudden, the hows he had known started working, okay? So I just can't emphasize it enough. Your philosophies, which drive your attitudes, which drive your how, are much more important than the how. And it's so easy because we grow up learning hows. They don't teach you in school philosophy and attitude, do they? They teach you how. If people, how is it? We just give you this, okay, and say, go get them. But it's deeper than that, okay? So you got to understand that is what drives this model. Okay, the other thing, before I start getting into some more of the different philosophies of this, is I just want to talk a little bit about the company, okay? I'm not going to spend a lot of time because you have great meetings, we have great tapes and all that, but I want to kind of give you a little bit of my vision of this company because I think it's real important that you realize that this company is going places with or without you, okay? So it's kind of like, are you going to get a piece of the action or not, okay? And my opinion, quite honestly, is every one of you in here deserves a piece of it. The one thing I've enjoyed is I've traveled North America with Prepaid Legal. One of the things I've enjoyed the most is I've seen it as a great equal opportunity. What I mean by that is I've seen people of all different backgrounds, walks of life, have success with this company. And I can just tell you this. I know some of the people in this room, but I don't know most of the people in this room. But without knowing you, without knowing your background, your circumstances, your strengths, your weaknesses, because we're all unique, we're all different, we all come here with this whole unique set of circumstances which creates who we are, okay? Without knowing you, I'll promise you this. I've met hundreds of people who are very, 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 very similar to you, who have already achieved financial independence in Prepaid Legal, okay? So what I'm trying to say is you can do it. I'll just guarantee you that probably the difference between them and you right now, if it's not working, is their philosophies are in order, okay? But I can just tell you this. I've met hundreds of people very similar to you, regardless of what your circumstances are, regardless of your strengths and weaknesses, regardless of what your education is, they have achieved financial independence in this company. And the thing that I've enjoyed the most, it works for all types of people. I've seen people who never were successful. They never got their college degree. And I want to say one thing. When I talk about success tonight, I'm talking finances. I recognize right up front, success is much bigger than finances. Success is your family. Success is your spirituality. It's your health. It's your relationships. I mean, it's a big picture. But for tonight, we're talking finances. Okay, finances make all those other ones better. Okay, and so, but what I mean is, I've seen people who had never really made it before. They never really, got the degree or climbed the corporate ladder, became a professional, owned a franchise, became an officer of the company. They've never really been successful. They see prepaid legal. It makes sense to them. They get involved. Okay, they're nervous. They've never done anything like this before. Okay, and I've seen people like that over and over. All of a sudden, they start making money here. They start making money equal to what they've made working for somebody. And it's really neat when you make money for yourself versus working for somebody. The exact same dollars are way more exciting when you make them for yourself than when you make them working for somebody. The exact same dollars is like 10 times more, is it not? Okay? All of a sudden that happens. Things start changing. You see the light turn on in them. You see the self-esteem start to grow. And all of a sudden they're making more money than they ever thought they could make. I've seen people make more money than the person they used to work for, make more money than the company they used to work for. I've seen that over and over and over. All you got to do is get our Profiles of Success book out and look at it, and you'll see people all over in there who have circumstances very similar to yours, if maybe worse than yours, who've already got to executive director and are breaking through. Okay. On the other hand, I've seen people who, quote unquote, were successful. They got their degree, they climbed the corporate ladder, they became a professional, business owner, whatever it might be. They see prepaid legal. It intellectually makes sense to them. They get involved on a very part-time basis. And when I get into how to do this business tonight, I'm going to talk about a 10 to 15-hour a week model. I think we pour way too much people on people, okay? Too much stuff on people. I mean, I don't care if you're somebody who's never made it and you're grinding out over there in a job that you hate, or you're somebody who has made it and you're running a business. Basically, you cannot force people into anything more than about a 10 to 15-hour a week commitment, okay, than that. And I think we grind too much into people, and that's another reason why you don't get the duplication. But I've seen people like that see prepaid legal. They get involved on a part-time basis, which I believe everybody should get involved on a part-time basis at first, okay? Get involved on a part-time basis. They start working the business, and all of a sudden, through time, this part-time endeavor is equaling this career endeavor. What they went to school for, what they've been building for 10, 15 years, and all of a sudden they see this thing equaling it in income, and I've seen over and over and over people walk away from quote-unquote success to do prepaid legal full-time because you know what you can get here that you can't get anywhere else? You get time and freedom. I mean, I'll just tell you this. That's, to me, forget the money. It's the time and freedom that comes from the money. That is, to me, the greatest gift, that I have that flexibility in your life. You don't know what it feels like to be able to kind of just do what you want to do at the pace you want to do it. Okay, it's one of the greatest things that ever happened to you. So I guess what I'm saying is this is a great equal opportunity. But I want to kind of go through real simply. What amazes me is when you look at prepaid legal, what you get for a couple $100. I mean, you get access to two companies that, when you're talking about prepaid legal and Kroll, which is our identity theft provider. Okay, you're talking about two companies who are stock exchange companies, both 30 years old plus, cash-rich companies, very mature, stable management staffs, okay, who are very highly recognized out there and who have achieved a lot of financial independence for a lot of people already. That's great. I mean, you get to represent two companies just like that. The problem in most times when you run into a company that's had the success that prepaid legal's had, and have all the people out there who are chief financial independence, guess what comes with that? You've missed the opportunity. What I'm here to tell you is I will promise you this. The opportunity for you today is better than it was for Dave Savola, the #1 income earner in the company, 10 years ago. I believe that from the bottom of my heart. Because when you look at it, number one, you got these, when Dave Savola started, we didn't even have identity theft and Kroll, okay? But you got these two great companies. The second thing you got going for you, though, that is amazing to me is although they've done a lot of great things, we've done nothing from the standpoint of market penetration. We have these two massive markets we're attacking. The legal system, which is getting more complicated and cumbersome every single day, less approachable, less manageable, more expensive, and less available to the average person every single day. It's becoming more and more ripe every single day for what we do. You know, that's very unusual. Usually by the time you find a company that has done all the great things that Prepaid Legal has done over its last 30 years, you have missed the opportunity. I will promise you this, the marketplace today is more ripe for our product than it was for Dave Savola when it started 10 years ago. Because the legal system is more broke today than it was 10 years ago. It's less approachable, less manageable, less affordable today than it was 10 years ago. There's just an absolutely massive expanding marketplace. What you always want is a market that's expanding. You don't want one that's contracting. You don't want to be getting into vinyl records today. That would be a bad thing to do, right? You wouldn't make much money. It's a contracting market. Now, when you add on top of that identity theft, people, I've never seen in my marketing career a product come to the market so fast and be so out of control. I mean, when we launched this, for the ones of you who were there, remember I was the one that got on the stage in Las Vegas 2 years ago and rolled out the identity theft and was quoting the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission's statistics. And they said back then that 750,000 people had been violated the year before. That means they rose their hand and said, I have had my identity stolen, okay? They came back a year later and said, whoops, we missed it. It's more like 10 million last year. People, that's a huge miss, okay? Big miss, big miss. Well, the FTC doesn't have their arms around it. Where is it really? If they're saying it's 10 million, what is it really? See, by the nature of identity theft, by the time you find out you got it, it's been a year or 2 years down the road usually, and it's gotten much larger, okay? So if they're saying 10 million, we don't know where it's at. It's out of control. I've never seen anything so big, and we're sitting here right on top of it with the best product, with the best company, okay? So you have these two established companies in these two very expanding marketplaces. You have these two companies that are number one. When you're with Prepaid Legal, you're number one in legal services. You're not dealing with the second or third company. You're dealing with number one. And when you're dealing with Kroll and identity theft, they're number one in identity theft, okay? So you got these two established companies, these very massive expanding marketplaces, and you got the leading companies. But the great thing you have going for you, number four, is each one of these companies over the last 30 years has been building a business model that basically changes how that system works. What Prepaid Legal has done is they come from the outside the legal system, and they've changed the rules, the paradigm of the legal system, and they've basically, and it's a very simple thing that Prepaid Legal has done. They have basically made the agenda of an attorney the same as yours. See, when you walk into a Prepaid Legal law office, or when you call a Prepaid Legal attorney, guess what their goal is? Their goal is to get your problem resolved as fast as they can and do it right the very first time. That's a huge shift from the legal system. Do you think when you go in the old market, where you do not get your name up there as a partner unless you know how to do what? Bill, okay? I mean, we walk into a typical legal system, their goal, trust me, is not to get it over as fast as they can and do it right the very first time. It's just not. That's not how they achieve their dreams and goals and have their houses and cars and everything they want. That is a big shift that Prepaid Legal has done. They've put the attorney's agenda, and there's thousands of law firms around the country, the same as your agenda, okay? And giving you access to a legal system that's just not affordable to the average person. Kroll, the same thing. I mean, you have, through Kroll and their financial management systems they put together, their forensic accounting systems, you have access to a group of people that can go into this very complicated thing when you have your identity stolen that they've been working on for 30 years and building a model that you couldn't do out there by yourself, okay? And I don't care how hard you try, you just can't do it as well as Kroll. So again, you have two companies. They're very established, very successful. You have two very expanding marketplaces. You're with the two leading companies in their category, and you've got products that have been built for over 30 years that are changing the way those product categories are attacked. And the fifth thing you have going for you is you have the biggest non-Me Too I've ever seen. What I mean by that is if you can be copied, you will be copied. You understand nobody's really trying to copy Prepaid Legal or Kroll? And there's other companies out there that say they're in the legal services business, but if you look at their brochure and you look at ours, the features and benefits of theirs will be kind of similar to ours. But when you step through theirs, guess what they do? They refer you into the old guard system where the agenda is not the same as yours. When you come into ours, you get what? Not referred, but put into this closed provider attorney system that we've been building. It's a proprietary system that we've been building for over 30 years that's unique to us, that's really changing the paradigm of how the legal system works, okay? Same thing with Kroll. When you step into them, you step into their restoration department. Nobody else out there. You got these credit card companies saying they got identity theft. That's basically for the credit card. They don't have this restoration department that Kroll has, that they've been building for 30 years. And we don't have anybody trying to duplicate it. We're what I call the biggest non-me too. And that is great. Now think about this. When Dave Savola, the number one income earner, started in this company 10 years ago, is the company greater today than it was 10 years ago? Of course it is. And now you add Kroll on top of it. It's even that much greater, right? Is the marketplace more ripe today for what we're doing today than it was for when Dave Savola started 10 years ago? Of course it is. And then you add identity theft and that ripe marketplace on top of it. Are we a bigger market leader today than we were 10 years ago when Dave started? Yes, we are. And now you add identity theft on top of it with Kroll, who's their market leader. Was the business model that we're building 10 years ago as good as it is today? Of course not. When we had 100,000 members, do you think we were good? We were okay, right? But as we moved to 500,000 members, were we not better? Why? Economies of scale, standardization, synergy. Okay, it's just like building a car. When you're making 10 cars as a manufacturer, you're not as good as when you're making 1,000 cars, right? We went to 1 million customers. Were we not better? As we're now at 1.5, we're not better. When we go to 3, 5 million, will we not better? So I guess what I'm trying to say is the product that you have available today is better than the product he had available to him 10 years ago, okay? So, and also think about it, is the product today we have more, has a bigger non-me too than it was for him 10 years ago. We don't have anybody even trying to copy us. So I guess what I'm trying to say is think about this. You go back 10 years ago and you just come forward to all the people out there you see that, those stupid people, I'm not saying David's, okay? I'm just saying those people are making all that money. The marketplace is more ripe for you today. The company's more established. The marketplace is bigger that you're attacking and more ripe for what we're doing. We're a bigger market leader than we were. The business model that we're using to attack the marketplaces works better today, and we're bigger non-me too today than we were 10 years ago. It is better today starting than it was then. The reason is because of the size of the market. That's very, very rare you can say that about a company. I just think it's very, very important, though, you have this vision where we're going. Because guess what? People come, they come in this business, and you see them. They come, they get in. All these great things are happening, and they come and they go. And they want to say it has something to do with the company. It does. If somebody didn't answer the phone right at Prepay Legal. One of the attorneys, God forbid, they're human beings, doesn't do something the way they want them to do it. Okay? And they get all flustered and let it take them out of the business. You have got to have the belief and the vision of where this company's going. And understand it's better today from where Dave was at, and it's going to be way better 10 years from now than we're at today. Okay? That's what I want. I want something that's expanding and growing. The biggest problem I've always said is that, and I talked about this earlier, that we're not taught in school how to understand businesses. We're taught in school how to, add, write, do all those things, but you're not taught how to think. You're not taught how to think. You're not taught philosophies. You're not taught attitude. That's not preached to you how important that is. You're not taught how to perceive an opportunity. Who here attended a course, how to perceive an opportunity and position myself in front of it? Who attended that course? You are not taught how to perceive opportunity. And I think that's one of the biggest problems you have as people will come into your organization, you start building your organization, is understand that the average person doesn't know how to perceive an opportunity. I always quote this gentleman, Arthur Schopenhauer. He's a philosopher again, okay? We're back to philosophies. Arthur Schopenhauer was a philosopher in Germany 200 years ago. Arthur Schopenhauer said, all opportunities go through 3 stages. First of all, it'll be ridiculed. Second of all, it'll be opposed. Third of all, it will serve as self-evident. He said that the vast majority of us will not get involved in the first 2 stages. We'll wait until it's self-evident. Only a small group will get involved in the first 2 stages where the opportunity's at. So what was Arthur Schopenhauer really trying to say? He was trying to say the key to success is to find something that's going to be self-evident before it's self-evident. You're not taught to think that way. See, I have people come up to me and they go, Jeff, I got in and I've approached 10 people and talked about it and they don't get it. And I go, isn't that good? They go, are you messing with me or something? I mean, are you making fun of me? Now, I go, no. Because what if you went and approached 10 people and 8 of them got it? And then they went and approached 10 people and 8 of them got it? It would be over. Quit wanting what you don't want. Okay? When I was building my solar company, nobody got what I was trying to do. If everybody got it, it had already been done. It's a philosophy. You got to quit wanting what you don't want. Now, if you went out there and approached 10 people and nobody got it because what you were doing was stupid, that's different, okay? But people, if you have belief in these two 30-year-old stock exchange, cash-rich companies and what they've done in this marketplace they're attacking, and there's so much evidence that supports it. I mean, it is self-evident to us, right? But if you go out there, it's not self-evident to the masses. That's exactly what you want. But you got to understand, as these people come and go, they're going to go out there and they're going to get that rejection, and it's going to freak them out. And they're going to think there's something wrong with the company, something wrong with the product, something wrong with them, and they don't realize it's exactly what it's supposed to look like, okay? Successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Successful people live out of their comfort zone. I'll talk about that later. There is no money in your comfort zone, okay? And you're not taught that. You are literally taught in school how to work for somebody, stay in your little block, support people who think that way, okay, and stay in your little comfort zone. God forbid you get out of your comfort zone. That's pound you right back into your little square, okay? So what I'm trying to say here is, more than anything else, as a leader, you're going to have to change the way you think, okay? You're going to have to change the way you think, and you're going to have huge belief and vision of where the company is trying to go. Okay, the other thing as I move on, as a leader, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to protect your organization. I know you people are going now, Jeff, you've been talking a long time. You haven't told us one thing on how to do this business, okay? It's easy stuff, people. When I get to it, it's too easy. I'm going to go through the 10 core commitments. I'm going to explain every single one of them to you, okay? But again, it's going to be how you think. It's going to make it whether they work for you or not, okay? Just like that one person, how he changed his thinking and everything started to work, okay? But as you're building your business and as you're growing it, you're going to have to learn to protect your organization. What I mean by that is basically in marketing, there's two types of marketing. There's what's called push-through marketing and pull-through marketing. Pull-through marketing is what all of us understand, okay? Pull-through marketing is where Tiger Woods holds up a can of Coke and everybody goes to the store and gets a can of Coke. They pull you into distribution. It's brand awareness marketing, okay? That's what we all understand. We are inundated with brand awareness, pull-through marketing our entire lives. We live in the world of what's called push-through marketing. What push-through marketing is where a product needs to be felt, touched, experienced, explored, handled, demonstrated, educated. It's got to be pushed into the marketplace. All services like insurance, fire insurance, health insurance, life insurance have lived and pushed through their entire life. In your lifetime, your children's lifetime, will never leave push through. There's a product that needs to be taken from a person to a person, okay? It is a push through product. But here's what will happen to you. People get in, I see this all the time, and it hurts. They get in, here you are, and you start your little organization, you get 5, and they get going, and all of a sudden you have 25, and you have this organization of 30, and things are going along. But you know, you really never really made it out there in the world, business world. And all of a sudden shows up in your organization, Mr. Cool. He was a sales manager for Xerox. And he's going to tell you how we do it over there, okay? And you listen, and you're dead. This is why I'm saying you got to get, I'm going to talk a lot about tonight, you got to get so sold on these 10 core commitments, how we do them, because you're going to have these people come, as your organization grows, they show up, and they might have a bigger pedigree than you. They're going to come on strong, and they're going to say, no, this is how we run leads, and this is how we run call centers, and this is how we do canvassing and infomercials. I've seen probably 500 infomercials come and go. I've never seen one come and stay. But these people come in, you don't know how many times I've had people come up to me and go, oh, I got this person in my organization and he knows how to do infomercials. And Jeff, you know that stuff real well, because I do, okay? I've done them in my other life, okay? And you know, and they're going to come in and we're going to run infomercials and have all these leads and da-da-da. And I go, people, if that worked, we don't need you. Quit wanting what you don't want. If infomercials work, we'd just be doing them, okay? This is a product that needs to be pushed into the marketplace, okay? And so you're going to have these people come from all different types of directions, telling you ways to market. And what you got to do is get so solid and start them out in our little teeny-weeny how book and be so sold on it and have your philosophies and your attitudes so right and your vision on where we're going so strong that you don't let them take you down, okay? Because they will take you down. Person, there's nobody who would have been worse at this than me. Because you think about it. I had been in pull-through marketing at Texas Instruments, running huge marketing campaigns in the consumer products into the big retail conglomerates around the country. That's what I did, okay? I was a product marketing guy. I went from there to building a solar company. Now, a solar company, you understand, I had offices all over the country. That was go in the home and make a presentation and close a $5,000 to $20,000 sale. Okay? I mean, we knew how to do boiler rooms, we knew how to do canvassing, we knew how to bring you into seminars, and we knew how to hold you until you strangled you. You didn't leave without signing the contract. We knew how to sell like the best, okay? I had a company called Data Direct, which was a company that designed advertising campaigns, had printing machines, had computers full of data, demographics of anybody you wanted to meet. You could come to me with any product, and I could figure out your features and benefits, who your best audience was, had the writers and designers who could design the campaign, could go to the computers to get all the right databases, and put together a direct mail campaign that would knock your shorts off, and won awards for that. Didn't bring any of that in here. Because I knew if that stuff worked, it had already been done. You know, there was another reason those stupid people were making all that money, okay? And I had to figure it out, okay? If there was a person who could wreck this industry and walked in, you think I couldn't have swamped Sherilyn? She was a flight attendant. I'm not putting out flight attendants, but that was all she'd ever done, okay? She hadn't done anything else. I could have killed her with information, but I knew there was something different. Okay, when I came in here and I became a student of what it was, okay? You're going to have to protect your organization from the outside. I'm going to talk later about how we're a little bit different in most network marketing companies because we sell a product. What a novel idea, you know? Most of them, recruit you and get you to buy a product, and that's the whole process, okay? We sell a product, and so we do sell. And I'm going to talk about later on how that works, but you're going to have people come from the outside who are going to tell you how to sell. People, I was in the personal development arena. I know all those guys. Now, every one of them has tried to make it in network marketing. Every one of them has failed. You know why? Because they bring in that heavy duty sales stuff like I used to do in Center of America, and guess what it does? It might work for me. It might work for a few people that got around me, but it'll never leave me. You get it? It will never leave me because it's too complicated. It won't duplicate. And won't move away from me, okay? So there's a fine blend, and I'm going to talk about that later on, about building an organization and selling, okay? But you're just going to have to protect your organization from the things that come. There's other thing that happens too is what I call false leadership. You got to watch the people around you who are on the program of the month program. And, you're going to have to insulate your group from them, okay? Because what I'm going to talk to you about tonight is I'm doing all this to lead up to this simple little 10 core commitments, get you to lock in on them like your life depends on it, because your prepaid legal life does. And just understand, if you'll just stay persistent and consistent in them long enough, this thing will take off for you, okay? So you're going to have to protect your organization. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to just go through these 10 core commitments. And here's the question I'm going to ask every person. And real quickly, I'm going to go through them, then I'm going to train them later on, okay? But I'm just telling you, everything I'm going to ask you to do tonight is easy to do. Definition of easy is something that you can do. You know why most people fail? Because it's easy not to. It's just easy not to. And I'm going to talk about later on why you make that mistake. But here's the 10 core commitments. So to get started, we have what's called a CFT, or Certified Field Training Program. This is designed to get your upline sponsorship, mainly the person who sponsored you, to work with you to get you off to a good start. We have a Getting Started Right book. We go through that with somebody. Is that very tough to do? Okay, that's not hard. We ask people to do 2 exposures a day, and I'm going to talk about that later on. Is that very hard to do? No. We ask people to attend their weekly business briefing. I mean, that definition of easy is something that you can do. Is that something that everybody can do? We ask people to send out a 1 long distance package a week, which most people don't, and I'm going to hit you over the head on that one later on. We ask everybody to attend the regional Super Saturdays that come along once a month. We ask people to attend the major corporate events that we have twice a year. We ask people to commit to personal development, find a workout partner, and be here a year from now. Is that tough stuff? Why is it, if that is so easy, and that's all you need to know, and it's all I ever did with those other companies, it's all I ever did, it never added a little thing to it, okay? And it worked with different products in different companies, different countries, okay? Why is it most people can't do it? Why is it that most people cannot master the mundane? Why is it most people will not do what I say is give the biggest gift you've got to give the organization, which is persistency and consistency?